Hey, this is Dr. Paul with Chiropractic Personal Injury Marketing. Let me share with you an interview. We just did our highly successful chiropractic personal injury attorney educational sales presentation. And what it is, it's a presentation that essentially sells attorneys to create referrals. That's what it does. Very effective. So we're getting ready to do a short interview. We just did the sales presentation for one of my clients. So how this works is I do live streaming. So we have all the clients have the campaign to get the attorneys to a location. We'll offer continuing legal education. We'll do dinner, typically on a Thursday night from like 6 to 9. Now, Jason, you participated in our personal injury attorney educational sales presentation a few days ago, right?
I did, yes.
Okay, and what was the response of your attorneys?
Yeah, so I think I didn't do the greatest job of getting them to the presentation.
Hey, Jason,
Yes.
that wasn't my question. My question was
Okay.
of the attorneys that were there.
Yeah, so I had one attorney attend. I had only one attorney attend, but
Hey, Jason, one attorney's better than zero, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
And what did you just hear from the other doctor? She had one attorney that gets 10 cases a month that's now going to refer all 10 cases to her, and she averages $6,000 a case or over $700,000 a year.
Right.
So don't think one attorney's bad. Do you understand this?
Okay.
So now, what was the response of your one attorney?
Very good. It's information that he had never heard before, and he was definitely missing a lot of the categories with the other doctors that he works with.
Were you able to calculate, like I gave an estimate? Usually most of the documentation they get is only 3 out of 10 categories.
Exactly.
How many was he missing out of the 10 categories?
He was missing, I believe he was missing about five of the categories.
Okay. And how many PI cases a month did he get on average?
He gets about 1 to 2 a month.
Okay, so 2 cases. And by the way, by the way, did he immediately sign up to refer those cases to you for the financial driver evaluations?
Yes, yes, he did actually.
Okay. And so 2 cases, what's your PI case average? How much on average do you?
On average, I'm averaging about seven.
Okay. So $7,000. He averages 2 cases a month. He's already started referring you the cases from one presentation. That's $14,000 a month, right?
Right.
$14,000 a month times 12 months. $168,000 from one attorney is not too bad, is it?
Not bad at all. Dr. Paul, I just have a quick phone call I have to take here. I'll be right back on.
Okay. So you can see the point is this is not a volume game. You make a heck of a lot of money from a small amount of attorneys. And one of the common mistakes doctors also make is they'll think it's a volume game, and it's not. It's a quality. It's low volume, high quality. What I mean by that? It means you got to follow up. It means you got to do what you say you're going to do. Remind them when you get your narrative reports done, remind them of all the categories that you're documenting, whether the patient has positive findings or not. It's important that they see. It's important that they see you know what you're doing, even though it's not a positive category with that
All
patient.
right, Dr. Paul, I'm back here.
Okay. So 144. So that was essentially your first time out trying to get attorneys to the presentation, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so not bad. One attorney, 2 cases, average 7,000, $14,000 a month, 100. So you basically just increased your business over $100,000 a year from one attorney in one presentation. Does that pretty much sound right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And,
I
and
just
look
had
and
higher
look and
goals.
look how you were poo-pooing it in the beginning.
Well, because I had higher goals, but hey, you're right. It was just the first time, and I expect to get better with each attempt.
Remember, 7 or less is the number.
Right.
soon as you go past 7 attorneys in a presentation, it becomes much more difficult to control them, lead them. So
Right.
that's why a lot of times, if there's more than 7 attorneys, it's good to have 2 separate presentations. You don't want a room full of 30 people and 20 people and 40. You don't want that.
Right.
If you do, break it up into 2 presentations or 3, because you can control them, lead them, and personalize it way better. So that's why I say, think in terms of 7.
Okay.
Well, you can do the one-on-one, obviously, but 7's a good number. So, but you're off to the races just like that. You got 1 attorney tucked in. And once again, can you see how this is not about knowing one particular diagnosis?
Right.
This is about all 10 categories and the subcategories within the 10 categories. You understand that that is the message, that you have to continually address, not an individual diagnosis?
Right.
And then can you see how important the follow-up is now?
Yeah, definitely.
What if we never talk to him again?
Yeah, he'll forget about me in the presentation.
It's just like all relationships. People that we don't maintain relationships with fade away. So you see how important, even something like that automated video newsletter it is we do. It constantly is reminding them of all the little nuances that are not typically being done and how it's hurting their injury awards. And we don't do that. We make sure that that's taken care of. So we're telling the story to support the injury award. And then all you got to do is what? So between the live presentations and the follow-up, all you got to do is what to build your $1 million referral practice?
Deliver.
All you got to do is deliver.
Right.
Got to do is follow the financial driver documentation checklist, right? Make sure you look for everything, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you document everything, even if they don't have it. And then make sure you explain that to the attorney. It's just as important when you give the attorney a narrative report to explain all the categories the patient did not have at MMI. Why? So he understands the thoroughness, the big picture, not an individual diagnosis. So yeah, all you got to do when you do your documentation is follow the financial driver documentation checklist, get it all, whether the patient has it or not, put it in the narrative, put it in their 12-step narrative report, explain to him what he does and doesn't have. Okay. It's just as important to explain to him what he doesn't have as well as what he does have. I keep saying this over and over. You do not need to hit a grand slam on the first case he refers to you. It's the thoroughness. The thoroughness of the categories is the grand slam. That's what is going to keep you in the loop and reassure him that he's in trouble without you. Can you see, Jason, now how he's in trouble without you?
Right, absolutely. He didn't know half of this stuff.
So, I mean, here he goes through the presentation. And how long has he been in practice with personal injury?
Over 20 years.
Jason, 20 years, and he's only getting 50% of the documentation.
Right.
But we're scared to go talk to attorneys. How much sense does this make?
Not much.
But the attorneys already have their existing doctors. This is all the crap language that doctors say to themselves. 20 years in practice, he's not even giving half of the information. And Jason, he didn't even know it, did he?
No.
Well, he damn well sure does now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You tell me, if you're in his shoes, you're going to send your patients over and get 50% less documentation?
Yeah, of course not.
You know how stupid you'd have to be to do that? You'd have to be pretty stupid to take your documentation now and send it back to where you're only getting 50% of the documentation necessary to support your injury awards. That's why you're going to keep getting the referrals as long as you do a few things. Go through all the categories of documentation, whether they have it or not, document the negatives, and then make sure you report on all the categories, including the negatives, to let him know what he does or does not have. So he sees them. Can you see how eventually he's going to want you to be his expert witness?
Right.
Because he doesn't have a choice. That is the power of personal injury attorney educational sales. So you're off to the races just like that. Increase your business over $100,000, one presentation. And then we'll just leverage that and go to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the next one. And then we'll do it again. See how it works?
Right.
Any other comments about your attorney had to say about it?
No, he thoroughly enjoyed it and learned a lot and he's looking forward to working together.
Now, I would imagine even when he gets cases, he's going to have some clients that are a little further out of the way from you, right?
It could happen, yes.
Yeah, well, guess what he's going to force them to do now?
Drive maybe a little further, or at least come see me at MMI.
What do you think you would do? You're an attorney. You know you're getting 50% less documentation that's hurting your injury ward everywhere else. But this one doctor is a little out of the way that the patient wouldn't normally go to. What would you do? You're the attorney.
Yeah, of course. I would want the doctor that would provide the full documentation.
Would you not reinforce to that patient to do everything he can to get to that doctor?
Absolutely.
And it's easier nowadays with Uber, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. There's even Uber Health that makes it a little easier as well.
Right. So your range of drawing patients is even greater than normally because now he understands that he's in trouble without you. Do you see how this works?
Yes.
Now, did we kiss his butt?
No, not at all.
Did we suck up to him?
No,
Did he say after the presentation, you send me a patient, I'll send you a patient?
no.
Do you understand that was not even on the top of his mind? Can you see that now?
Right.
Do you understand how he'd be afraid to say that to you right now? Because
Right.
he may piss you off. Do you understand that right now?
Right.
That's how you come from a position of strength and not weakness. That's why you don't have to do dinners and give them gifts and awards and ball game tickets and all that stuff. None of that stuff. It's all from a position of strength and authority. And that's when you get not only get all the referrals, you become their expert witness, but then also they don't expect any referrals in return, and they won't ask you to cut their bills. Can you imagine what's the likelihood of this guy asking you to cut your bill after he's getting 50% less documentation everywhere else?
Right. Wouldn't make sense.
You see how it all comes together, Jason?
Absolutely.
That's how it's done. But again, how many people know the documentation we know coming out of chiropractic school?
Zero.
Not much. How many people know educational sales? That
Even
is,
less.
yeah, that is zero. That is zero. I just talked to attorney, a chiropractor recently. He tried to start a referral group, so he thought he could get referrals. His angle wasn't from a position of strength or authority. He thought, well, maybe we can get more referrals if I have a larger group. So his idea was to create a larger number of doctors. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but now you got attorneys that are outside. Now you got offices that are outside his county. So now you got total different attorneys. Now you got to sell more attorneys. And so I asked him, I said, what are the kinds of things you did? You know what they did? Socials. They would do dinner together. They would do social events together. That was his idea of creating referrals. Do you see how if you did something like that, you'd be in a position of weakness, not authority?
Yeah, dinner doesn't teach them anything.
All right. So very good. You're off to a strong start. And we'll go over also what you did right and wrong to get the attorneys. By the way, in your opinion, what do you think you did wrong to limit the attorneys to only one?
In my opinion, I don't think I followed up enough with them.
Right.
I think
Yeah, I would agree with you. The number one reason typically is well, it's really two. Not personal follow-up.
right.
Two, not personal follow-up. Those are the two main reasons that will decrease the number of attorneys that get to your presentation.